Atlantia vive, Atlantia vince, Atlantia victor, Atlantia vive, Agatha vive, Shambhala vive, Lemuria vivere. My dear friends, I shall tell you today why Greece is bankrupt and how it is the Eastern model versus the Western model. It is not the fact that Greece has to pay a certain amount of money. It is how the short-term debts are vis-a-vis the long-term debts, and how the work of ethics comes into Eastern Europe. Because, you know, in Eastern Europe, there is very much uncertainty. All the people fill out their American-style stuff, a fiscal declaration in the months of October or September. And anyway, in the months of October, the government gets a lot of money, which, by the way, are only 33-35% of the money that they should get, because the big companies like Coca-Cola and so on never pay. They never pay. Okay, at least in Romania. And that is why Alina Gheorghiu said that the rate of collectiveness, the rate at which the state collects its taxes, shall increase from 58% to 73% in Romania. So 42% never pay their taxes in Romania. In Greece, 80% never pay their taxes, or something like that. And as you go toward the south, yes, Greece has a lot of islands, and it is really difficult to go from island to island and ask people to pay their taxes and so on. So it is this stuff. Plus, Greece is a country with a lot of mountains and a lot of islands, rocky islands, and they also have a merchant fleet, but the merchant fleet is busy transporting stuff. So it is very hard for the government to keep control of its society. Plus, 40% of Greeks live in Athens, so Greece is a country dominated by only one city. As Macedonia is a country dominated only by one city called Argos. So we have Argos in Macedonia and Athens in Greece. Yes, in the past we also had Sparta and Theba and others, but they are gone, basically. In Romania we have several city-states. We have Cluj, we have Iași, we have Bucharest, we have Constanța, we have Craiova, we have Timișoara, we have Oradea, Arad, Satu-Mare, and so on. So we have 5 or 6 different cities which dominate 5 or 6 regions. But in Elada we have only one big region dominated by a central government. And that central government lives in Athens. 40% of Greeks live in Athens, but 60% do not live in Athens. They live in the countryside. Yes? So Greece is a rural society. And yes, and they also have very little things to do. 50% of young people are unemployed. 50% are unemployed of young people, of people who should produce between 20 and 35 years of age. More than 35 years of age, 25% or 33% are unemployed. Yes. And yes, it is said only 25% are unemployed, but actually if you take the numbers of people who are employed, it is like in Romania. It is said that in Romania 20% are unemployed, but actually only 4 million people out of 23 million are working. 500,000 people are producing stuff in the private sector, so they are producing stuff which are sold. 3.5 million people are working in the public sector. They are policemen, they are doctors, teachers, and so on. And they do not produce anything that can be sold. So they do not produce any money. Yes, they produce public order and health and whatever they say they are producing, but if their salaries are based on the work of 500,000 people, then it means that 23 million people are living from the work of 500,000 people, which is a little bit unjust. But this is the nature of our society. So our society is an ancient society. We are an ancient people, and then we have these slave traditions, ancient traditions, and so on. You are asking yourself, why the hell I am a poor guy if I am the leader of Romania for 17 years? Why people spit me in the face? They don't spit me in the face. They decided to take off all the teeth in my mouth and to punish me for all my bad mouthing about Romania, because I said things about them which they don't want to be said, like our technology, because they have this contract with France until 2038, and also because they are proud people, they like to remember the past but not the present, and they don't like to be remembered as thieves and whores and so on, and they don't like to be looked as that, but they don't know how to produce value either. So it is a mixed thing. It is like with old people, you cannot say things in their face which you know and they know that they are bad, but you have to suggest, you have to be Apollo, yes. You have to suggest through other means that things needs to be changed, like it was said in one of our novels made by Krang, by Katsavenko. Anyway, by a Greek guy, and there were two guys talking about democracy, and one was told that the emblem of their party is the star. He said, yes, the star of Jesus, blah blah, and after the break, he's told now that the star is the emblem of the opposition party. Our emblem is the cross. He says, yes, the cross, the star is bad, the cross is good, and after that he said, yes, I agree with the reform, but I want nothing essential to be changed. Or, I agree not to have any reform, as the opposition says, but we will change things in the essential point. We will change things a little bit in the essential points. So we will have reform, but we will make no reform. And that is how the Greek government sees the situation. After the no vote, they said vote no, and they put no above yes. So yes was no and no was yes. Actually, after that he said yes, great victory for democracy. Varoufakis, the Greek minister for finance, resigns. A new guy is appointed. Yes. So that means Greece is falling back one step. Yes. And after that. It is very difficult to see this, because in the government we also have an extreme right opposition, a fascist party. Yes, they are communists and they are fascists in the government. And the fascist party, the Nazi party, said yes, the army will ensure the order, which means if the communists go too far, we will get the army and we will have a military dictatorship, basically. Yes, Karamaniolis or something like that, Karamanlis. And so, yes, and Tsipras said that we will have an agreement in 24 hours because we really need the money. Tomorrow Greece has to pay 3.5 billion euros. And obviously they cannot pay, they only have 500 million euros in their banks, or they had. So it is, the debt must be restructured in the way that they must pay 1 billion euros per month, every month, for the next 20-25 years. This does not mean to push forward payment of the debt. It means to have a balanced view of the debt, like we have in Luxembourg. Luxembourg, although it has a debt of 3,449% of GDP, and every people in Luxembourg owes $4 million, $3,969,000, and the whole big duchies of Luxembourg owes $3.4 trillion into the foreign banks. Luxembourg is not bankrupt because the way in which Luxembourg pays debt is contiguous with how Luxembourg gets its money. So the people in Luxembourg always pay their debt immediately after they get their money. They sell coal and iron, and they make very good steel. Yes, and they have a special month of September, and then in the month of September they get a lot of money selling their steel, and in the months of October or September they also pay their interest rates to the foreign banks. And this is what must happen in Greece, in Nevada. So if you know that in the eastern countries in the month of October the government gets a lot of money, people fill out their fiscal things and they give out the money to the government, and then the government gives away those money to many institutions, because I have, in the Achu family there is a boy Claudio Achu who has a father. The father died, but before he died he told me, yes, I have a merchant, an enterprise who has two enterprises. A private enterprise which stays, on the top of the nationalized enterprise, and a nationalized enterprise is a research enterprise, and they also have to be very creative because they get money from the government in the month of October. So in the month of October, the people in schools, teachers, physicians, people in the police, in the secret services, in the army, and all the governmental stuff, they get their money in the month of October. So they have to move very fast and be very creative and think for 1 year ahead. What will we need for 1 year? Well, we need furniture, we need computers, we need some research equipment, we need and they try to plan, and obviously most of the time they make it very wrong, and most of the purchases are very bad, but some purchases are also good. And society moves forward like a snail, like a snake. Most people here are like snakes who are moving on the dirt, and they are moving like a snake like this, and when a big rock appears, which is a war or a crisis, the snake gets its head up, and then is the proper time to cut off the head of the snake, but this never happens, fortunately, and the snake moves on top of the stone, and then he starts to move again like this. This is how most people in the East live. And many sacrifices are being made. It was said about Simona Halep that she had an operation to make her breasts smaller in order for her to move faster on the battlefield, on the tennis field, and become number 2 in the world. And my father, who is the king of Argos, told me, well, my son, have you ever heard about another woman, a professional tennis player or a professional sport player in whatever other sports, who cut off her breasts and renounced her motherhood or whatever in order to? But I'm not very good at the subject, how much milk an infant boy needs. So I know that there is also powdered milk. I don't know if Simona Halep has a smaller breast, if she will be able to give a smaller amount of milk to her babies. I don't know how many children she can have, but also girls in our gymnastics, because Romania had a very good gymnastics team, and articles were paid in the West, and then in this Sports.ro, to say that these girls are breaking their ankles because they cannot walk like a woman on shoes with things like that, because they break their ankles and they deform their feet. Of course, because in every sport you need to sacrifice something. I have great pains at my heart, because my untreated teeth with a hole here goes this hole, and this whole mass goes to my heart and to my brain. Yes, you understand this? Yeah. Of course, my grandmother, my mother says I have nothing. They are dragons, will not understand. I am Dovaki. Anyway, this is not about what I wish to say. What I wish to say is that you have to understand every country in European Union. If you ask Greece to pay in the months of June and July $2 billion and $3.5 billion to more than another $2 billion, basically they have to pay in 2 months $35 billion. No other country in Europe, including Germany, France, UK, Spain, Portugal, and we had the regime of Salazar in Portugal, the Franco regime in Spain, a military dictatorship of Mussolini in Italy, a military dictatorship of Adolf Hitler in Germany. We also had a military regime in France, another military regime in UK, another dictatorship in Russia, and another in Austria, and so on, and in Turkey, and in Romania, and Bulgaria, and in Greece. Do we wish to return to? So the Greek debt needs to be restructured in such a way that every month they have to pay $1 billion, and when they get their money in the months of October or September, in October let them pay $10 billion. Yes, and it is very simple to do this. You only need to adjust a few data, and the banks will get their money in the same terms, because the banks have to write down their debts on 15th of September. Why? Because on 15th of September there is a new year in the Jewish calendar, and most bankers are Jewish. And others have to write down in April, because in April we have on the 1st of April, it's not an April joke, or 1st of March we have the old Atlantean calendar beginning, and maybe on 1st of January, but anyway, the point is that once per year that every bank has to make its financial report, or twice per year. So it is very easy to adjust the Greek debt in such a way that the books will be clean, the books of the banks, the books of the creditors, and the Greeks will continue to pay and work. Goodbye.